On your marks. I'm just kidding. Hi guys, we're with Andries Visser, and Andries, please tell us a bit about your past, about where drumming started for you, and kind of where church started for you, and where the two kind of intersected.
Okay, I was fortunate to grow up in a Christian home, and then I started playing at the age of 9 in 1984. It's a while back. Yes, and I finished high school in 93, studied music in 94, 95, and 96. Didn't really make anything during that time. I was working a part-time job, trying to just pay for the petrol to go to Milky Lane, if it still exists, or youth. And then I actually started playing as a professional musician in 1998. So it's a long time since I started playing. Always played in church, and then I got my first break going to Cape Town in 1999. It was early April, and I played on an album for an artist called Bella in Cape Town. I think it was one of her first or second albums at the SABC in Cape Point. And there I met Khanyisa. It's a multicultural, interracial, racial reconciliation mission Christian group that toured South Africa before the apartheid era, and also during the transition in South Africa, and also toured in the States then. And this was a Youth for Christ initiative. Yes, I basically auditioned during this CD recording. I didn't know I was being auditioned. The backing vocals that came in were the vocalist for Khanyisa. And after the session, Rolf Eichhardt, who was the leader of the group, says, "Hey, listen, what are you doing? Where do you do it and how do you do it?" And says, "Well, I go wherever, where there's a gig." Like most musicians. If you feed me, I'll play. And then he says, "Hey, we're leaving for the States in 4 weeks. Do you want to go with?" I'm like, "Nah, I think I'll pass." "No, of course I'll go." And then 5-6 weeks after that, I was in the States, and I toured there for 3 years with Khanyisa for 10-11 months a year. We did an average of 180 to 200 shows a year. Wow. Which most of them were non-paid gigs. Somehow we survived and we lived, and God looked after us. And then I came back in the end of 2001, and 2002, my career in South Africa started as a musician, thanks to Khanyisa that put me on the map. Because as we toured, guys would email me and said, "Hey, are you in the States? Are you touring?" And that's how, it just kind of paid it forward for me. And then got back in 2002, started playing with Louis Brittz. Reana, she was like just past 12, 13 years old now. She was 16 years old, and she was touring as a add-on artist for Louis Brittz, which I think most musicians in the Christian industry has been through Louis Britz's band. Yeah. Somehow, I mean, word for word band is Louis Britt's band about. Most of the famous guys these days also came from Louis Brittz. So I think he's really paved the way for a lot of musicians and artists. And also with a worship leader called Wian Vos at the time. He was doing the whole youth thing. So yes, it kind of grew from there, and did a lot of club gigs. I think I out-clubbed myself, and I wasn't in the club for big clubbing. There's roughly about over 400 students that's gone through the Groove Regulator since 2003 till up to date. And 90% of them have completed the course. And at the end of the year, we used to have a great celebration, a performance, which we used to pack out Linda Auditorium, 1,000 plus seats, and just have a ball of a time with as many drum kits as possible on the stage. So, that in a nutshell. I'm still in the industry and more catering for teaching and studio work, At the moment, I'm unemployed as the rest of the world. Lockdown privileges. Free in my cage. Yes.
Cool. Here's a question for you. So what does excellence and raising the standard mean to you?
I think it's value in yourself. That's the very first thing to start with. What do you believe? How do you feel about it? And what are you going to do about it? If you've got a bad self image of who you are as a person, whether you're born again or not, Christian or not, irrespective, if you don't believe in your ability to achieve things, you're not going to make it in any industry. So really the first thing would be to understand who you are, where you come from, where you're going, have some sort of a goal. So excellence is born out of a good self-image, I would say. And then from there on, one could decide whether whatever you want to do and really excel. And yeah.
There's always been a kind of like a misunderstanding, I guess is the word, in a lot of churches where it comes to that word excellence, you know. I think a lot of people feel like, you know, if we're going to push for excellence, then where does that leave spirituality? Or you know, there's always been that kind of like you know, it's always been a gray area, you know. I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
I think, yes, the misconception of excellence in church is definitely not aimed at musicianship. It's more towards what does your heart feel? Are you actually saved? You know, in actual fact, musicians need to be excellent before they get into church, I would say. Otherwise, your days are counted. It's forbade. Excellence comes when you're in this room, like where I'm sitting now. This place have heard and seen many grooves and many hours. Excellence is also born out of the desire to achieve the utmost levels. For me, is when I look at international musicians and I see the musicianship, and I realize, like, yes, I'm just a beginner still. So excellence is not negotiable. It's something that needs to be a lifestyle. It needs to, if you're a musician, you should be doing hours now on lockdown. You should be practicing, posting video clips, asking guys for help, teaching, I don't know. Log into someone's site and get free lessons, steal, whatever you have to do to get more information. But I mean, the platform is there. It's never been there when I was a young musician. I had to look through windows when other students are practicing and steal with the eyes and just sort of imagine that's what's going to happen, you know. So we learn by listening, by hearing, seeing, stealing. It's not really stealing, it's more borrowing and keeping for life, you know. But excellence is non-negotiable.
How does that work for somebody that's perhaps you know, that doesn't play full time, that maybe they've got another job, they're accountant, and on a weekend they want to be part of the church band? How does that look for them?
I think it's great to have the desire to play, but one's also got to be honest. If the band doesn't require such a high level of excellence, and there's no professional players, I think it's a good place to get involved and also just grow the gifting, but be dedicated, take lessons. If you don't understand something, ask, and keep on practicing. You know, 1 hour a week is better than nothing. If you have half an hour a day, put a half an hour into it. Listen to the songs. I have many musicians in our church. They're not professional players, but they really play great. They listen to the songs. They understand. If you're not musical and you think you are, get 10 people's opinions and take a chill pill and be honest with yourself. You know, have a cushion close by so you can deal with it if you have to. But you've got to be honest about it. You know, if you don't have the gift, but you've got the desire, then really work hard. It might still, I don't know, might still happen.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a question about drums. So this is my statement, and you're going to tell me if this is true or not. So drummers, right? So, actually any instrumentalist for that matter, how strong do you fight against your own personality coming through what you're playing, as opposed to playing what is right? So what I found is a lot of guys who are timid play the drums timidly. So how do you combat that, number one? And number two, or do you need to change as a person? Like, how does that work? That kind of, my personality versus what comes out of what I play.
Interesting, Kirk, because personality as a musician and personality as a person, I would say, are two different people.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have split personalities. Because when you get on stage, it's all of a sudden it's a different person a lot of times. But just myself on my train of thought here.
But I like what you're saying. I mean, because I think that's something that a lot of musicians battle with.
Yeah.
Being timid, but you can't be timid on the stage when you're playing a rock song.
No, you've got to have confidence. Confidence comes through hours of practicing. So if you're not confident in the song, it's not going to happen on stage. You're going to drag the rest down. I've had shows like that, but I wasn't prepared enough. Well, I thought I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared enough. And then I was over-prepared at some times where I got frustrated with others that weren't prepared. And then I pay the price for their unpreparedness. So the personality comes through your playing. If you negative the day, it's going to come through your playing. If you're up and about, it's going to happen. But there's a thing called consistency. So consistency derives from practicing the hours that you put in. For instance, if I were to want to do a speed at 200, okay, let's say that's 200, but I cannot reach 200. I'm never going to play at 200. But if I can play 200, and I want to play at 150, then it's more achievable. You know what I'm saying? So if you practice guitar and you do your scales at 120, but the song's only at 70, you're going to fly through the leg easy. But sure. If it is 111 and you can only do 120, you're going to struggle because your muscle fatigue it's in, the stress level, the oxygen, lack of oxygen, because sometimes we don't breathe when we play. And we really push hard to get the lick, and then we I can't do it. Your hand cramps up.
This is practice. Do you think it's all comes down to that thing called practice?
It comes down to being prepared at the end of the day, and learning the song is not enough. Having the skill to play the song is what you need. Skill versus knowing the song equals success for me. So the skill meaning scales, chords, knowing the neck, playing the right notes as a bass player, playing bass for one. It's not an island string guitar.
Yeah.
Don't follow the melody, play the root notes or play the important notes. It's the same in every instrument. Know your place. Yeah. Then there's a lot of space for other musicians to play maturely, even if they are not full-time musicians.
Yeah.
So there's the thing, okay, learn the chords, but know the neck at least,
Yeah.
Know your instrument. So yes, personality does come through those things. If I'm confident in playing, I've made a lot of mistakes just by showing that stupid little examples. I haven't warmed up. I mean, I'm over 40, so these muscles don't work like anymore. So I need a day to warm up, and then I can play half an
Yeah.
hour.
I think last question is about creating that space and creating awareness around why we want to be good. So I think everything you've said, is cool. Like we're excellent for that reason. That raising the standard. And I fully believe that once excellence becomes the culture, your language changes. Your discussions become about different. It just changes everything when everybody's kind of on the same page. And I think a lot of people get confused. The same page isn't we are all amazing. The same page is if we're not, we are working towards it. So there's that culture of cultivating, of nurturing, of growing, of doing for the most, so what can you do in your team to kind of nurture that, to, because like I said, I think in a lot of teams it can become us and them. So how do you get past that? How do you get past the us and them scenario without it becoming kind of like where you're still engaged, because it's easy to just like push there and I'm here, but how do you engage that and bring it together?
Yeah. Kurt, I think much of it boils down to relationship. If you and I are playing in the same band, we're going to have a few braais. Because if we trust one another man to man, we're going to have an incredible time playing music together. Because you're going to be able to tell me, hey, Andries, when I play this section here, could you maybe do a different groove? And I'm like, what did you have in mind? I mean, when you play, I go, whatever. But you're like, yeah, you know what? I haven't got enough space to play these rhythms because it feels like it's a little full. Now say that to a guy you just met. It's not going to happen. So relationship opens the door for growth as a team. So a lot of braais, a lot of coffee nights, not jam sessions, braais and coffee nights or coffee. They say church brings people together, but coffee saves a life. You could save your own life, by having coffee with your fellow musicians and have a relationship with them. And then from there on, say, hey guys, why don't we get together around a campfire and just worship? Hey, bring your T-top, bring your djembe, bring your cajon, bring your guitar, bring your bass. I'll put an amp through and we just kind of sing around the fire. Those moments kind of establish the heart of worshipers. If you have that, unity will make anyone in the band want to grow. So whether it's professional or non-professional, if there's unity and relationship, then growth is just kind of, love God, love his people, advance the kingdom. It's more like love God, love people, advance the band kind of thing, So that being said, it's hard to build.
So it doesn't start with excellence. What you're saying, it doesn't start with excellence, but excellence is rather the byproduct of the culture and the unity and the relationships.
I trust that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Kurt, for this wonderful opportunity to just chat with these guys. Thanks, guys, for checking this out. Big thanks to Kurt. And then if you'd like a little more about drum-related stuff, you can just get me on grooveregulators.com. And maybe if you want more information, personal information, you can speak to Kurt and he will give you my details.
I'll give him your number.